Well, welcome to today's webinar. This is Empowering Volunteers to Manage Your Church Website with Church360 Unite. My name is Peter Frank, and I am the manager of Concordia Technology Solutions. You can see my contact information there. I always appreciate talking with people in churches, hearing how it's going using technology, any technology really, but especially our software products. So by all means, please contact me. You've got my email address. My office phone number is there as well. Like I said, I am the manager of Concordia Technology Solutions, and Concordia Technology Solutions is the church administration division of Concordia Publishing House. Now, if you're not familiar with Concordia Publishing House, we are the publishing arm of the Lutheran Church Missouri Synod, and I've got a picture to share that's one of my favorite pictures from our history. So right there is a photo from 1904 at the World's Fair. This is our booth, and we actually won some awards at that World's Fair, and it just shows some of our rich history. Now, at that point in 1904, we had been around for about 35 years. So we've been around for close to 147 years at this point, and our history is great, but I think what's even more exciting is our future. And we have been developing software for churches since 1984, and we are digging deeper and deeper into that as we go. We've got a lot of great things in the works. We've got a lot of great product offerings right now. It's just an exciting time to be providing tools for churches. And there you can see an example of one of our more modern rooms here at the Publishing House, our Innovation Center, where we do a lot of our product brainstorming and conversations. So a couple housekeeping items before we get going. Today's presentation will go about 60 minutes. Now on the sign-up, if you saw it, I had 90 minutes scheduled. I'm planning for 60 minutes or thereabouts for presentation, and another 30 minutes for question and answers at the end. I know that time is very valuable to all of you, and so I don't want to take up more than I need to. So you are welcome to stay for the question and answers at that time, but you don't have to. I do ask that if you have a question as you're going, you go ahead and put it in the chat box. Just go ahead, ask questions throughout. I will not be answering them throughout the presentation because I want to stick to the outline so that we can get through that 60 minutes appropriately. But I want you to ask the questions while you're thinking about it. And during that 30 minutes at the end, I'll review all questions, make sure they get answered. And if we run out of time to answer all the questions, I'll send out answers via email after the fact. But I'm pretty sure we'll be able to get through all of them. It's been a little while since I haven't, so I've been on a roll. Hopefully we won't mess that up today. Now this webinar will be recorded, and the recording will be shared after the fact. So you'll get an email letting you know that the video is now available. It'll be either later today or most likely tomorrow. I've been running about 24 hours by the time I get it out. So just so you're aware, that will be coming, and you're welcome to share that with anybody else, or if you need to step out during this and take a phone call, or if somebody walks in the office and interrupts you, you're welcome to rewatch those parts to make sure you don't miss anything. So that'll be coming out most likely tomorrow, maybe even by the end of today. So we're going to talk about Church360 Unite, and I want to spend a second explaining how that fits into the larger picture of what we're doing here. So we call it Church360 Unite because it is a component of our Church360 software suite. And it has that subtitle there of Complete Church Management, because it's not just Unite. Unite is your church website builder, but also within our suite is Church360 Members, which allows you to manage your member information. And we'll touch on that a little bit today, not too much, but just show where those intersections are. And then there's also Church360 Ledger, which allows you to manage your church's finances, your chart of accounts. There's not as much of an overlap between Unite and Ledger as there is between Unite and Members. But just so you understand how they all fit together, they're all part of the same suite, but they are individual products that can be used independently. Church360 Unite, as I mentioned, is a complete church website builder. We call it complete because it really looks at the different tools you can use for an online presence for your church. So there is the website component. Obviously, that's in the name. That's a big part of it. But it also allows you to have blogs where you can put posts. It can be your member hub where members can log in and gain information about the church. You can use it for file sharing. You can also have your master church calendar done through Church360 Unite. And then lastly, your mass emailing can be done through Unite. So we call it Unite because it really unites these different tools that you would need into one single tool where you can do all of these at one time. And so that's why we call it Unite. It unites those together. A couple things about Unite. It is online. You can access it anywhere. All of our themes are mobile responsive, so your visitors can access your website whether they are on a phone or a tablet or on an actual desktop computer. It's all secure hosting and backups. That's done by us. We manage that on our end. We back all of your data up every single night, and we keep those backups for 30 days. So if you make changes during the day, we may not have all of it if you've changed it multiple times, but you can rest assured that your backup will never be more than 24 hours old. And we've never really had an instance where we've had to upload a whole database because of anything that we've done. A few times somebody has accidentally deleted whole sections of their site because they thought they didn't need that anymore, and then they needed it back. So we've been able to recover that. So we take care of all that. You don't have to worry about that on your end. There are free updates, support, training, all of that is available with Church360 Unite. So I know that sounds kind of like a sales pitch, and that's partly because some of you who are attending are not currently customers. That's about as much of a sales pitch as I'll get into today, because I do know we have some current customers on here, and this will be somewhat of a training for you as well. So I'm making a few assumptions about you who are attending this webinar. First off, I'm assuming you're at least familiar with church websites and the concepts of websites, what content to include. We could go all day talking about ideal content for a website, and we've done that before with different webinars. If you go to our YouTube channel, you'll see some of those. We're not going to get into that so much as we are going to get into the tool of Church360 Unite. Now, I'm expecting that you are new to Church360 Unite. If you're a current customer and you've been using it for a while, much of this will be familiar to you. You may pick up some tips and tricks along the way, but this is much more for the novice user, the person who's just getting started. Lastly, and this goes along with the theme of today's webinar, I'm anticipating that there are willing volunteers in your congregation. So Church360 Unite allows you to delegate certain tasks to other people in your congregation so that you're not having to do all the work from the church office, or if you are a volunteer, you're not having to manage the entire thing yourself. Now, there's lots of different strategies on finding people who are willing to be volunteers, and we're not going to get into that as much today, although if you'd like to talk about that offline, I'd be happy to discuss it, because I've seen a lot of different things at churches, some things that work well, some things that don't work. I've been involved with multiple church website redesigns, and I understand how it can go at the congregation level. So, what we're talking about here is a really ideal scenario. That's not always reality, so I understand that. But we're going to work off the assumption today that there are people that are willing to help you out, and this will be showing you how to actually take advantage of that help. The goals of our webinar: first off, to explore all areas of the software. This is an overview, so we want to make sure that we at least touch on everything so you can see what can be done. I do hope you understand the key features. Now, we're not going to get into the real nitty-gritty on everything because there's a lot there. But we are going to look at the overall concepts, the key things, and throughout it all, I hope by the end you can answer, how can Church360 Unite help delegate website tasks? That's really the main goal, is to see that. And if you can answer that question by the time you're done, I have done my job today. So let's talk about these website tasks and the different roles. So website roles. The first one is the administrator. Now, this is very different depending on your church. In some cases, you will be a full-time church office worker. Maybe you are the secretary or the office manager or the administrator. The titles really vary. You may even be the pastor. We have many pastors who are the ones who purchase Church360 Unite for their congregation. Well, we're going to talk about the administrator role in terms of settings and users, and that's the first thing to set up. Now, that's something that you may be able to delegate later on. As you start this up, I think it'll be best for you to be the one to do that. I'm guessing that because you're here today, you're the one who's most interested in getting this started. So that's what we're going to talk about for the administrator role. Next, the designer role, and I know this sounds like a little bit beyond a volunteer. In fact, I don't expect any church to have a full-time designer on staff. You may not even have somebody in your congregation who is a full-time graphic designer. That's okay. You don't need somebody who is a graphic designer by trade or a website designer. You just need somebody with some design, an eye for design, some design abilities. We've got a gentleman at our congregation who is an art teacher, and he is fantastic. He knows nothing about the computer and will be the first one to tell you that. He's not a graphic designer. He's an artist, and that's okay. There's ways that we've utilized his skills even within our website. So as we talk about that, we'll be looking at things like themes and pages and what you can include on those. Next up, publicity. This may be a full-time role at your church. In more instances than not, I've seen this as a volunteer role. Somebody who's within the marketing or publicity industry who volunteers their time at the church to kind of help get the news out. This may be done by the church secretary as well. But we're going to put in that overarching publicity role, and as we do that, we're going to talk about feeds and lists, mailing lists in particular. Now we're going to get into some real true volunteer roles, a board chairperson. And just about every case that I have seen, the people who are leading boards are true volunteers. They are not paid staff. And so as we talk about that, we're going to look at Board of Elders specifically. That's one I'm most familiar with, but I know this has a lot of applications across all boards. We're going to look at groups and how boards can use groups. Ministry leaders is very similar, and they can absolutely use groups, and I think you'll see that as we go through it. But in this case, we're going to talk about a ministry leader in terms of events in the calendar and such, the Master Church calendar. And then lastly, we're going to look at regular lay members, people who are not actively involved, but are at least engaged with your congregation. And so I'm going to show you how they can view the directory and update their profiles. So that is kind of our roadmap for today. Let's go ahead and get started. So I'm going to move over here to this screen, and I'm going to zoom in just a little bit because I know that my resolution on my monitor is much better than it may be coming across on your site. So this is where you'll go after you've gone through the registration process. And sometimes I go through that during webinars. I didn't today. It's pretty straightforward, and it leads you through it. So after you sign in and you pick up you pick your theme and you pick your default template or layout, site layout, you'll get here. And if you have any questions about that, we've got a team of people who are happy to help you out. But we're going to start here where this is the admin bar up at the top. And the first user is always the admin, and so you'll see what you have. We're going to start with settings. This is some pretty basic information. You'll see here you can put in your church name, email, phone, address, time zone. This information automatically flows into your footer on every page. Regardless of your theme, it'll show up there. From here we have calendars, and you can have a variety of different calendars within your church website. We'll get into that in a little bit more detail later on as we talk about groups and adding events. The domain, this is by default you'll have a subdomain .360unite.com, so we call this one our trainingwebinars.360unite.com. If I want to do 360trainingwebinars.org, I could do that and set it up here. Now there's a few other steps on the back end that our team is happy to help you with. You can do that through us or through another third-party provider. Either way, it works just fine. Google Analytics is next. You'll notice there's no built-in analytics here, and that's because Google provides this free tool, which is just fantastic and is the standard for analytic tools within the industry. Now there's some ones that are a little bit fancier and a lot more expensive. I don't think any church should be spending their money on some of those tools. I think Google Analytics is the perfect solution for your church, and that's why we make it so easy to set it up. So there's instructions there. We're not going to get into that today. And lastly, integration. If you are a Shepherd Staff customer, that's one of our church management software products, you can integrate Church360 Unite so your member data is pulled in. And that same can be done with Church360 members. It adds a lot of value to have your website working with one of our church management software products, whichever one you're using. And this gives you instructions for how to do that. You don't need to know any more about that today. That's not the point of the webinar, but we're happy to talk in more detail if you have questions about that. Next, we're going to move up to users. So you can have a variety of users on your site. Now, depending on your plan that you might have with 360 Unite, you'll have a limited number of administrators, people who have access to everything. However, regardless of your plan, you can have an unlimited number of users, and there are a few different roles that they can each play. So you'll see here, this is really an entire church database of all the people who are in there. Most of them are not users, and you can look at roles. Right now, I'm the only one who's in here as the administrator. Now, you can add additional people in really easily just by having their first name, last name, and email. You can also import in bulk from a list. So if you download the CSV template, you fill it in Excel, you can import it in by uploading list, and you can update it, add dozens or at a time, and it goes real quickly. So we won't get into that in too much detail. Let's talk about different user types. To change a user, you would go here and click on somebody to change role. We're going to do that right now. There's a few people that I'm going to introduce you to. The first one is Jason Freeman. He is going to be our example for a designer, and so we're going to change his role to administrator. Only administrators can manage the themes, and so your designer does need to be an administrator to set up the theme. This is always part of your initial setup, and so what I would recommend is if you have somebody who's volunteering to do that, set them up as an administrator at the beginning. You always have at least 2 administrators regardless of your plan. Get your theme up and running, and then maybe take that person off if they don't need to be involved long term. But we'll go ahead and update him. Now you'll see I changed one role. It'll reset the list, refresh it so you can see what happens. So here now Jason has been invited. It says invited less than a minute ago. I can resend the invitation if he doesn't get it. But what Jason will get is an email that says you've been invited to join 360 Unite, and he can just sign in, and now he can begin working just like you can as the administrator and see everything up there. Now, the next person we're going to invite is Tamika Robinson. And Tamika is going to be kind of our communications person, our publicity coordinator. So she doesn't need access to the whole theme. She can be just a publisher. Now, as I say that, I forgot I was going to include mailing lists with that, and so we'll put her as an administrator as well. Mailing lists to the entire congregation do require an administrator, but mailings within individual groups do not. So we'll look at that when we get into our Board of Elders example. For now, we'll put her in as an administrator so you can see the mailing list. The next person we have is Rob Calloway, and Robert, there we go. And he doesn't need to be even a publisher because he'll be managing content but only within his group. So we're just going to put him in as a user, and so he won't have access to any of the pages except for his group. So we'll go ahead and update him. And then the last 2 will also be users as well. And so I'll show you how you invite multiple people at the same time. So Mabel Moore will be with our Altar Guild, and then Derek Woods is who's going to be our average layperson, if you will. And so we've got these 2, change the role of Mabel Moore and Derek Woods to users. We'll go ahead and update that. And now when we go back here to roles, you can see that we've got 3 users and 3 administrators. Let me just talk one more time about publishers. A publisher can edit the content on a site, but doesn't get access to all of the tools within the administrator role. So that's the difference there. Before we jump into the design area, I want to talk about activities real quick. Activities have 3 things there. That's actions that you may want to look at. One is comments related to blogs and your feeds. I'll talk about that. There's also an event log, and this tracks all the things that happen within your account. Now, some of these are things that I did previously under under our last webinar there. So I'm looking at all the details. And then under here, under the email log, is any emails that we have delivered from here. And I'll give you kind of the results of that. So you can just monitor your activities and see what has actually occurred there. So that's what activities are. So As we move into kind of the designer phase, I'm not going to switch out of users because the designer will have the same access. I will switch out of users when we get into some of these other roles. But let's go over here to themes. We've got 10 different themes available, and we'll be adding more in the near future where you can have a very different looking site. All the functionality is going to be almost identical, except within the pages. Sometimes you may have like a vertical navigation versus a horizontal navigation. You can change your theme at any time, and if you are a professional designer and you know a little bit about web design, you could clone a theme and make any modifications to the code that you want. We give you full access to that. We're not going to get into that today because that's definitely advanced techniques. So you can see here under advanced techniques where you can add custom headers, custom scripts which go in the footer, or you can edit this theme itself. And we'll give you a little bit of details and say, because this is a theme that belongs to Church360 Unite, you're not allowed to edit it, but you can clone that and create your own theme based off of it and modify it to your heart's content. If you use one of our default themes, you'll take advantage of all of the updates as they occur. So if we make improvements to it, like we did going on a year ago now, in terms of making everything responsive, that happens automatically. But let's look at customize, because customize is something that anybody can use. So within each theme, there are a certain number of presets, and presets allow you to change the look and feel while the structure stays the same. So you can see some of these different options that you have there, and so that really gives you, a number of additional themes that look different. Now, my favorite theme is light, and my favorite preset is autumn. I just love the way those colors work together, so that's what we're going to go with today. But you can change background colors, heading colors, accent colors. You can change the font. I just prefer a sans serif font. You can also change and put a logo in there. And so that's the Light of Christ Lutheran Church logo that we have. And then you can save those changes. And that automatically takes place. That's where we started out with before. But I just wanted to show how that works. You can change your themes at any time without any additional cost. I know that sometimes with some of the other website providers that are out there, you pay per theme. With Unite, you don't. It's all about what's best for you, and we know that sometimes you just want to change the look and feel or do a complete redesign without switching services, paying more without any additional expense. To us, it doesn't matter if you change your theme. It's what works best for your church. So after you set your theme, you can go into this, what we call the edit mode. So when you're signed in, when you have this admin bar, you can see to the far left, you've got edit page. And when you click on that, this takes you into edit mode. You'll see here as you hover, you've got these different boxes. These are the different cells that you can use. You can change your cell layouts over here. So if you want just one cell in the page, you can do that. If you want to split cells, do it that way. In this case, we're going to go with the 6th option, where we have a larger, wider cell at the top and then 3 columns in the center. For any page, you probably don't usually want to do this with the home page, but for any page you can mark it as draft or publish it. And that way you can work on a page without anybody having access to it. And when you're done, you can publish it, and then it can be visible by anyone who has access to your site. You can also change the page name and the URL, which goes up here. You can change the page title, which will go up at the top. You can edit the meta description. Both the page title and the meta description are important for Google and other search engines. That's what shows up in the results. And I could talk all day about search engine optimization. I won't get into that today, but those are 2 key parts of search engine optimization, making sure that you show up at the top of the results in those search engines. Whoops, let me go back here. I didn't mean to go that far. We're going to go into the page next, and when you click on a cell, you'll see this opens up. This is our WYSIWYG editor. WYSIWYG standing for what you see is what you get. It's very similar to what you have in Microsoft Outlook or Word, where you could just begin typing and say, "This is my website." And it's just like sending an email. You've got the same tools. You can make that bold or italic. Center that. It's all should be very familiar to you. What we're going to do right now is add an image. So you'll see there's a bunch of different options. You can add anchors in here, links, images, audio, video, embed codes, tables, horizontal lines, special characters. We'll give you full access to the source, which isn't much right now. If you know HTML, that's all there. Let's go ahead and add a few images to this page. So to click add an image, it'll show you your different assets, and we'll go ahead and upload that to the site. So here's a big banner, and looks nice and pretty. I created this using a free tool called Canva. That's canva.com. And if you go to canva.com, you can see there's some of our different options there. I won't get into that too much other than to say that's a free tool where you can create some beautiful graphics at a very minimal cost, or no cost if you use some of your own images. Let's go ahead and put a few banners down here as well. So we'll upload, and we'll do this first one as get involved, and then we'll do this next one and upload it. We'll say the day school. Many of our Lutheran churches have day schools associated with it. I'll get that kind of front and center as well. And giving online. That's an important aspect of having a website, is to give people the option of donating online. So you'll see as we add these, you'll have unsaved changes. These have not been published yet. So we'll go ahead and hit save, and it'll kind of refresh and let us know, yeah, those are saved. And there's our nice site. Now you can make one of these images a link, and you can click on that right up here in the little chain thing, the links, and you can pick another page within the site where you could say, okay, I want this to go to, newsletters and resources, and you click OK. Now we've got unsaved changes again. We click save, and we're ready to go. So now I can click on this link, and it'll take me to this page, which doesn't have anything right now, but that's okay. For the example, it works out just fine. Now there's all sorts of things that you can add to any page, and that's within the page, but you may want to add additional pages to your site. Usually you want more than one page on your site. You see here we have a navigation up at the top with a variety of different pages. Up in the administration toolbar, you go up to pages, and you can see your site navigation, your active menu items, and you can add additional categories. That's what these are, these folder looking things. You could add pages, and there's a few different page types. We'll get into those in just a moment. And then you can just drag and drop and put them within the navigation. Now it's important to know that categories are just collections of pages. They are not pages themselves. And that's for mobile design, because you can't both hover and click like you can on a desktop. That used to be very common practice, to have a category page and then pages underneath it. We don't do that anymore because everybody's on their phone. When you're on this, you can mark these as either drafts. That's what we were showing before, where you could take them off publish status, and then you can make that publish. There we go. You can also make them public or private. So if you want to make a page that only members can see it, meaning only people with a login can access it, all you have to do is go in here and click private, and now that is locked, and it does not show up in your navigation. Nobody who's not signed in can view it, and that's great for a lot of your more confidential information. Like what I always think about is Acolyte schedule. You don't want to put youth group members' names on your public-facing site, but you do want to give access to people to see when they have to Acolyte next. So putting on a password-protected page like this, where not each page is password-protected, but that portion of the site is, makes it really valuable for you. All right, so that is kind of it for pages. A very high level. There's a lot of different strategies on how to use this. I want to get into some of our different page types next. So the first page type I want to talk about is news and announcements. So you can see here that we've got a news and announcements page, and we'll click on it. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and continue without saving. So this is a helper page, kind of a placeholder that says, here's what you could use on your news and announcements. Let's go back up to pages, and we're going to go ahead and delete that one. All right, so that's now deleted. We'll go up to add page and click on this feed page. We're going to create it, and we're just going to call this, let's just call it announcements. So you'll see that little icon there that shows that it's a feed rather than a regular page. And that's currently members only. We'll go ahead and make that public, and we'll save these changes. And we'll X out. So this, as we are kind of transitioning from a designer mode to a church communication director mode. And you do not have to be an administrator to access these. You do have to be a publisher to access feeds on your site. So that's where you may put this person who is strictly helping publicize events as a publisher, and they can access it. So here's your announcements page. We're going to go ahead to edit page, and you'll see it tells you here's a new post. Well, I've already got some things, and this is going to be a shameless plug. I know, I'm warning you ahead of time. Concordia Publishing House has a great new book coming out that is an adult coloring book. And so we're going to put this in here and say we're going to announce an adult coloring party coming up, I don't know, April 16th, 2016. We'll just put that for right now. And I'm going to steal some of the copy from our CPH website and plug it in here, and you can just give a little bit of announcement about that. We'll go ahead and put a link to the book on there. If you guys are interested, you can look that up. I'll show you the cover in just a second. So to put a link, you highlight the text, you click the link button, and you can do it to a page or feed within my site or outside the site. And so any URL, and then you can choose here to say open that in a new window. Now we don't want people to entirely leave our site, but we do want to give them access to this if they can. So put that in there, and click back at the beginning, add a picture of it. So we'll go here, we'll upload the picture. Here we go. It's called the Garden of Eden Adult Coloring Book. Oops, I didn't mean to hit that one. I meant to click this and click OK. There we go. So it's a little large, and it's kind of weird how we've got the text going around it. So we click on it, and we'll say, go put that all the way over on the right. And so that's over on the right. Now let's change it and say, you know, it's at 400. We're going to reduce that down to 200. Keep the aspect ratio. So all I did to get to that is I double-clicked on the image. That's a little too small, so I'll show you again. Double-click on the image. Then you can change the image from here, or you can change aspects of it. We'll change it to 300, and we'll put it, oops, let's see, lock aspect ratio. There we go, 300 right there. Maybe we'll put it over on the left-hand side. Either way, that's great. So there's a lot of other things you can do within a feed, but I just want to show you a couple of things right there. So we'll go ahead and create that, and now that is in place. So we'll click on there to see the actual post details about it. Let's go ahead and put that down a little bit farther so that we can get all these comments and everything down below. Here you can see that this post is still in draft status. We're going to put it to published. It'll give you an automatic URL. You can change that if you want. Same with post title. And if you want to put your meta description in there, there's some limits on text. That's probably a bit too long for a meta description. We'll cut off a little bit. I think that should be good. You can change when it was published too. So if you wanted to say, actually, we did that announcement 2 days ago, I just forgot to put it online, you could do it that way. Or if you put it on the wrong feed, you could change your feed here. So we'll go ahead and save that. So now that has been published. And we'll go here, take it out of edit mode, and that's what it looks like. Now, I'd probably change a few things to that, but that's how easy it is to add a new blog post. And if you go back up here, go to announcements, you'll see here are all the different posts that you can click into. Now, I hit edit page to show you some of the post options. These are different. So that's your feed options. So that's the name of your feed, the feed title, description. You can show how many posts show up per page, and you can say don't show the actual post comments or post content. You can also allow comments on each post and choose to moderate comments, or if you don't moderate them, they'll just show up automatically. It's kind of up to you how you want to do it. I usually recommend for public-facing feeds to moderate comments and for private feeds to not. But I think there's a lot of value in always allowing comments. So I'll click Save there. And now you can see because I didn't show the post content, it's only showing right there as a line. and now I can click on that and access the full post. So feeds have a lot of great opportunities for you to use them for. You can use them for announcements, you can use them for sermons, you can use them for prayer requests. There's a lot of different capabilities of feeds, and you can have as many different feeds on your site as you want. So we're not going to get into any more of that today, but I just want to touch on how powerful of a tool that is. Let's go next to mailing lists. Now this is why we made Tamika an administrator, because up here in users you'll have to have administrator access to go into mailing lists. And we do that because we don't want to give everybody in the church access to email everybody in the church. That could easily be abused. And so people who are responsible enough to be administrators of your account are also responsible enough to email everybody that they want. So by default you have a group that's called Everyone, and then you can create more. Now we utilize an email relay feature, and I will go ahead and click email, and it's going to take it a second to open. Here we go. What you'll see, and I know that's going to be small, I apologize, I cannot zoom in here. I can copy this and paste it over here and show you what it looks like. We'll put that up a little bit more. It creates this very weird looking email address. It's got this, which you call a GUID and a unique ID, .trainingwebinars@relay.360unite.com. Now you'll notice this opened up in my email client. It's actually going to go to everyone in the church. So when you send this email, it'll come to our servers, and we'll redistribute it one email at a time to each of your members, or each of the people in this mailing list. And so it prevents you from coming across this spamming your email contacts, because each one is only getting one email. And it's very similar to how many of the other web or email providers work, like Constant Contact, MailChimp, and those. The difference is that it's included in here and it's free with the purchase of Unite. So there's a lot of advantages to using that. So I'm going to close that. I'm going to show you how to create a list next. So let's say we want website administrators as your mailing list. You can go in here and now you can choose, well, okay, Jason Freeman is also one, Tamika Robinson is, and Peter Frank is. Looks like I got two of me in there. I forgot about that. I'll have to change that. So now we can save that, and now this is a new mailing list. So anytime I want to email just those three, I can go over here, oops, click the checkbox, take that off everyone, and click email. Now you can email multiple lists at a time. You can also include other lists in there. So we'll go ahead and save that. We'll just call this one new list. And you can see now website administrator. So you can create kind of a hierarchical structure of mailing lists just by going through here and creating list after list. A lot of great possibilities there. When you think about your email chains, this is a great way to do that. It's very quick to send a prayer request this way. If you're using something like Constant Contact, it may take a little longer to create an actual template, whereas here it's just like you're sending a regular email, because essentially you're opening your default email client and sending from there. Alright, so that is mailing lists. We're going to shift over into groups next. Now I want to show first how to set up a group. So we'll close this under pages. Now administrators have to be the ones to initially set up a group. So we'll go ahead, click add page. We're going to add a group page, create that, and we're going to call this the Board of Elders. And we'll put that under Ministries, and it's a members only group. And we'll hit Save Changes. Exit out of here. By the way, to close out of one of these pages, there's a little X button up here. So that's how you access that. We're going to go here to the Board of Elders. It's already been added to the navigation. And this is now our group page. So a group page is like a site within a site. And it's really powerful because you can give a single person access to manage their entire group. It's almost like giving them access to manage their own website. Now what's different about that than an administrator role is they don't get any of this information up here. They can only manage their specific group. So the chairperson of the Board of Elders won't be able to change your homepage, but they'll be able to change their homepage, which you see right here. Just like any other page, you'll have an edit page, and you can begin changing that in here. We're going to dig into that in a second. First, I want to show you how to add members to this group. So just like users for your entire website, there's members of groups. And you can go in here, whoever created the group by default is set as the group leader, and then that can be changed. So I will go ahead and add Rob Calloway as a member. Now he's been invited. You'll see his image right there. We'll talk about that in a minute. I'm going to change his role to be promoted as leader, and then I'm going to delete myself. I'm the administrator right now. I don't need to be as part of that group. But there has to be at least one group leader in there. Otherwise, it becomes kind of this empty group. So Rob Calloway will be that group leader, and now we're going to sign out as the administrator, and I'll show you what his view will be. All right, so now you'll see we're on the website. There's not that administrator bar. If I go here to ministries, there is no board of elders because it's a private group. Now, I'm going to use my special code here at CPH to log in as Rob Calloway, just because I use fake email addresses for our users. I'll log in just to show you what it's like. So now I'm logged in. Doesn't look much different, does it? I think I'm logged in. Oops. I guess I didn't log in all the way. Let's see here. It won't look different. Of course, anytime. Okay, I'm going to take this off the screen and try that again, because this is something you don't need to worry about. It's a tool on our end that allows us to log in as users for support purposes. Oh, I think I know. I had it open over here as well. Pardon the delay. These things always happen when you're live and you have an audience. That's just how it works. Well, that is not working for me right now, so let me go ahead. I'm going to try one more thing real quick. I even tested this ahead of time. All right, we'll just sign back in as me. Well, I apologize for that delay. That is one of the problems with trying to jump in, is that it's a different feature that not everybody has access to. So we'll go back here to Board of Elders, and I'm going to add myself back in as the administrator, or as the group leader, just to show you what we've got there. All right, so Board of Elders, like I mentioned before, has their own home page. You can edit this page like any other page. We'll go ahead, and it defaults just to saying home. We're going to clean that out. You can see it in here. There's nothing in the source code. I'm going to add an image that's kind of a header image for the Board of Elders. So we'll put that in there. We'll upload it. You'll notice that in my asset collection, I don't have access to all the other images on the site. It's just my own assets, which are images or files. So I'll put that in here. Oh boy, that doesn't look good. We're just going to change this. We're going to delete that. And we're going to put it as 100% and cut that out here. And let's see. There we go. That looks a little bit nicer. We'll go ahead and save that just as an example. I'll go out of edit mode, and you can see now that looks a little bit nicer than before. My image is a little blurry. I didn't use a high-res image like I probably should have. Let's go here to edit this group and show you all the different options for that group. So you've got your Board of Elders, you've got your description, and you can say the Board of Elders exists to assist the pastor in the worship life of the congregation. I'll show you what that's for in just a little bit. Down here you can add pages. Now there's a few default pages that are in here. So you've got a discussion board, an events page, a member directory, all within that group. Within each one of these you can set different permission levels. So you can say only group leaders can see it, only group members, only Unite users, or you can make it public. Or you can just say no one can view it. So if you want to turn off discussion or turn off events, then those are just off for now. And you as an administrator, group leader, can change that back in. You can also give different permissions for joining this group. So anyone who is logged into the site, only people you have invited are those two options there. So you can have a semi-public group, meaning that anybody who has a login can sign in, or you can say only people you invite. Now you have to have a login to join a group, and so that will some of these you won't be able to participate in if you don't have a login, and that's okay. You could view those pages. You can also add pages here. So let's add a page called Documents. And we're going to add documents to the navigation by checking on it, and you can see that right there. We're just going to update this group real quick, and then go over here to Documents. Now documents are just like any other page. So maybe we didn't want to call it Documents. Maybe we want the page to be Meeting Minutes. We'll change that here to Minutes. Save that. And it refreshed. So because I changed the URL, we'll go back here to Board of Elders, and now I have Meeting Minutes. And I'll type this in as well. Put meeting minutes. And then we'll say that we had a meeting today on April 14th, 2016. That's Thursday. So to add a document, you just select the text, click Link, and say link to a file that users can download. And now you have additional assets page. So now I'll just add my minutes as a PDF. I click OK, and now that is a link for those minutes. All right, we'll close out of Edit Page, and we'll go back to Edit this group, because I may not want all Unite users to see our minutes. I may only want group members to see our minutes. I may want all Unite users to see our homepage, but I don't want them to see the discussion board. Well, we can put the events on there. And then we can put the member directory on there too, so they can see who's on the elders. And so the experience on this side will change depending on who's logged in. It looks like I still have this page as draft too. I'm going to publish that. There we go. And now that little draft icon is gone. As a group leader, I can go in here and I can email all the members of the group, and it'll do that same thing that we did before with the email relay. Now, as a group leader, I'm the only one who can email this group. So when you start thinking about how this can take tasks off your to-do list, I know that there are times where the church office is going to email an entire board to let them know about a meeting change or about a special request. Well, that can just be forwarded on to one person, or not even forwarded. It could just go with the person who initiated it, and they can go in here and notify the group just by emailing. You can also have a discussion board, which is kind of like a chat room, except it's not live. So it's like comments on a blog post, where you could go in here and just say the meeting is being changed to tomorrow. Put that as an announcement, post that, and now that's on there. Now, each individual user can choose how they get notified. Membership settings. Send me an email when a member of my group posts a comment, so those automatic emails go out. Or send me an email only when the leader makes an announcement. The other people are not as important, but I need to know when a leader makes an announcement. Or don't email me at all. So the members can choose their communication methods, and the leaders can choose how they communicate. And it just creates this nice communication flow where everybody is getting what they need without having to talk to the church office at all. And that just takes a lot off your plate. So that is groups. We're going to move into next how to use events. And there's a couple different ways you can do that. So you'll notice here that each group has an events section by themselves. They have their own calendar. So we'll create a new event, and we'll call that Monthly Board of Elders Meeting. It's on the Board of Elders calendar. I'm going to go ahead and just put this as the conference room, and it's going to be at 7 o'clock tonight till 9 o'clock. This event repeats every single week on Thursday. The schedule doesn't end. I won't put any description. I can invite people to this. It'll only allow you to invite group members, and then I can choose reminders for that. So we'll say, all right, remind people a week before and a day before, and we'll create that event. So now you'll see that is on that calendar. Well, let's take a step back and go to the Master Church calendar. So I didn't highlight this before, but up here under News, we've got Calendar. And you can see now that group event comes to the Master Church calendar. Well, and any individual user can go in here and say, well, which calendars can be seen? Well, right now, only Board of Elders. You can check that off. The administrator of the site can go to Settings and modify which calendars are available. So you can see here that I can't change the settings of the Board of Directors because it can only be changed in the group settings. The group leader of the Board of Elders can choose that. But I can go in here and choose other calendars, and they're by default not checked. So worship should be available to everybody, and fellowship should be available to everyone. And let's see, and some of these are tied into Church360 members, so like communion events, anytime communion is served, that could be part of there. We can go ahead and just create another calendar, and we're going to call this the Altar Guild calendar. So maybe the Altar Guild doesn't want to have their own group, but they do want their events on the calendar. So we'll create the Altar Guild calendar, and we're going to change the color of their events, and we'll go ahead and put those as purple. And we'll change worship to dark red and Board of Elders to a dark blue. So Altar Guild is available to everyone. We'll click Save. And we'll close out of here, and we'll just do a quick refresh. Oops. Let's see, what did I do? There we go. So if you ever get stuck, it's in the middle of sending the information to the server, and so just do a refresh or Control F5. It'll just send that same request again. So now you can see we've got a couple different calendars on here. Now these are coming from Church360 members. They share a calendar. These are the actual events where you take attendance within Church360 members. You also see the different calendar options there. Now Board of Elders is blue. There are no fellowship events right now. You see a little group icon to indicate that those are only with the group. And then there's the worship calendar, which is red. Let's go ahead and create a new event. And we'll call this event the Altar Guild meeting. And we'll add it to the Altar Guild calendar. You can actually add events to multiple calendars. So if this is also a fellowship event, you could put that in there. And then it'll show up on either one of those calendars. We'll go ahead and put that on there for right now. And then the location, we'll put that under Fellowship Hall. And maybe this is a 10 a.m. meeting. And we can say that this event repeats every month on the first Thursday. What's today? I think it's the second Thursday. We'll just put that as the second Thursday. You could add additional invitations, and now you have access to invite anyone in the church, and you can send reminders as well. So we'll create that event. This event has some additional details to it. So you can choose to opt in and say, I'm going to this event. And now you can see the participants. There's one person who's going to it. You can add comments to an event, saying something along the lines of, what should I bring? Oops. And people can reply to that. You can choose to delete your comments. Let's go back here to the calendar real quick. And now you can see there it is right there. Now if I turn off fellowship, it becomes Altar Guild. I forget exactly how those apply. So if you have fellowship, it picks one color. I think it's probably based on, I don't know actually, that's a good question I'll have to ask. We'll just show the Altar Guild calendar. And you can see now from month to month, that's what shows up, and there's that one for the following month. So your ministry leaders can go and put their own calendar events on here. Now one of the other advantages is because this is your master church calendar, you can ask people, okay, show all the calendars. And if I'm going to schedule a meeting on the 27th, I can see no one's there. But if I'm going to schedule it on the 26th, I can see, well, the Board of Elders have the conference room during that time. You don't have to worry about people calling the church office and saying, can I schedule this event at this time? They can go and look at it and schedule their own events, provided that they're signed in as well. And it works especially well with group events because then it goes to that calendar. It tells you who you can ask if there's a need for changing the meeting or anything like that. But it keeps that communication on the volunteer end. Well, the last thing I want to talk about, the last person we're going to talk about is our regular lay person, our lay member. And there's a few things that are just fantastic for them to do. So first off is the member directory. So we'll go up here under news. That's kind of a weird way. Let's go back up here and move ministries just down to members. Sorry, members down to ministries. There we go. Change the order of my words there. There's the ministries and there's the members directory. Now by default, and it can't be changed, the members directory is only available to people who are signed in. This can never be public because when you look at the information, there's some sensitive information there. Nothing real sensitive, but addresses, phone numbers, email addresses. You don't want that public for your church website. And so you have to be signed in to be able to see that. But then you can go and view the households and view the members of the household. You can view their contact information. So then you can go into that individual person and see what groups they're members of, if the groups are visible to others. And then let's go and look at, I'll just jump back here. If we're looking for Rob Calloway, you can see there he is. The picture's there, so it can be a photo directory for the picture. And you can see he's a member of the Board of Elders. He can change his picture, so he could choose to use a Gravatar globally recognized avatar that's often very popular within the blogging world, and upload their own profile as well, profile photo. You can see recent activity if he's posted on things. Each individual person can go and edit their own profiles, so you can see here that you can add additional email addresses, phone numbers. They can also edit their own household information. So if the Calloway family moves, they could change that, or if they added additional people, additional phone numbers or email addresses. You also pick the order that they display. So by default, it'll be the order in which people were entered. But if you want to put in household order, or maybe the kids' orders change, or like Brian's off to college, so you put him at the bottom because he's not as active, you can change that around and update it, and that's how it'll show in the member directory. What this means is that you can empower your members to maintain their contact information. So if they're in the habit of logging onto the website to interact, and they get a new cell phone or email address, they don't have to call the church office and say, well, my new email is this. They can just go in and change it, and that can flow back into your member database, like Church360 members or shepherd staff. You'll be able to see that, and maybe we'll just do an example of that here. Maybe it's we'll just say that it's a mistake, and maybe his email address is not Robert C, but it's Robert CAL for Calloway, and you update that profile. Now, you as an administrator can go in and see these changes occurring. In this case, I edited it for him, but you can see that that has changed. It's on this date and time. And that's where I did the phone numbers earlier. So that's today, and it just makes it really easy for you to keep a record of this without being the one to do that, and you can and just watch and see as they update it. It becomes a hub for them to do the things they need to do without you as the church office or leader of the website being the one to do all of that work. All right, well, we are just at 10:59. I think I covered everything I was planning on covering. There's probably always a couple things that I missed because there's a lot that can be done with Church360 Unite. But I do want to open it up now for question and answers. And anything that you have about how to use Church360 Unite, how to delegate tasks to other people. While you think about that, I don't have any questions in the queue, which is kind of surprising. I'm going to go ahead and jump back to our PowerPoint. And just here's the kind of little ad that we've got. If you haven't used Unite before, you want to get started, go to 360unite.com. and you can get started on a free 30-day trial. But if you want to talk more about this, here's my contact information. And it's peter.frank@cph.org, or if you want to contact software sales, you can do that as well. And looks like I had animation for the logo to it. I don't think that was intentional. So let me go ahead and see if there's any questions here at this time. If you do have questions, please submit them. I've got a number of people. I can't imagine that I covered all the details, but maybe I did because I'm not getting any questions. So I will I'll review my list real quick to see if there's anything that I meant to cover that I didn't cover. I usually plan quite a bit. Well, here's one thing that I didn't cover while you guys think about questions. I forgot to show. So when you're in a group, like the Board of Elders, and you go here to edit this group, you can see there's the description. Now you can link to this group from other pages. So let's just say adult ministries. There's nothing there right now. But if you wanted to provide a widget to that, and by widget I mean kind of an embeddable link, you would go up here and you can say add a group widget. And you choose the group. Right now we only have one, but you could choose the type of widget. So a small one would just be a link. And that link will automatically update if you change the group name. You could do a medium one, which gives the description of the group as well. You can also do a large one, and that'll give the description and say who the leaders are with their picture. And so if you have a different group for every Bible study, you could put all of those on one page and show who the leaders are, and that'll automatically update as the leaders change or if the group description changes. It just creates a lot less work for you to maintain those records. Let's see. So there's one thing that I forgot to cover. I will go through my list again. I think I got just about everything, and I'm still not getting any questions. So I think we'll go ahead and wrap up. If you have any questions after the fact, by all means, please email me. Again, my email address is peter.frank@cph.org. And if you're looking to start the free trial, go to 360unite.com. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate you being here, and I hope I was able to show you how you can use Church360 Unite to take tasks off your to-do list and allow members and volunteers to do them for you. Thank you again. Have a great day.